So one thing that I give Jimmy from Grand Caliber, formerly TPG, credit is he will go on Reddit and basically any questions you ask him, even if it is a little out of left field, he will try his best to talk about. So here we're talking about Tran, the Stephen Tran individual. And Jimmy said that there was no significant developments. They never caught the suspects with the possession of the watch. And the police really didn't know what was going on. A police report was filed. And Jewelers Mutual, which seems to be an insurance company, conducted an extensive investigation before settling any insurance claims. The investigation process extended for over 5 months. And Jimmy has limited information about the robbery itself, including the individuals involved, security measures taken, and decisions to transport the watches instead of using armed services. He says, "This was before my tenure, and I don't really ask because at that time Anthony and Marco were handling it." He has limited information. His involvement began in February when we were negotiating buyout terms with Anthony and he was spending more time in LA. My role with the insurance claim was primarily centered around obtaining necessary documents from both Marco and Anthony for Jewelers Mutual, given their occasional lack of organization. So that kind of explains the Marco robbery. They went through the insurance company, and you can be sure that if the insurance company found something shady, they're not going to pay out. Insurance companies are notorious for not paying out. Here are 2 more questions. Observations of both Dallas and early states LA. Did you have any inkling that Anthony was engaging in paid escort massage services? Do you believe this ended in 2019 as he said it did? Regarding security, who were Brian Rodriguez and Johnny Flex? Were they real professionals or just guys Anthony met to use muscle in the videos? To be candid, I was unaware of this situation until Reddit broke the news and a sports partnership. We had inquired about it, the Reddit article. Anthony frequently traveled to meet with clients, presumably for watch-related things, or at least I thought, and consistently generate YouTube content from those trips, which we featured in weekly and sometimes daily videos on his personal channel. I didn't think much of his travel until the news broke. Brian was a videographer in Dallas, was brought to Los Angeles by Anthony to help Darby with content creation. I don't think Brian was ever truly a security guard. So here we have Jimmy commenting on Timeless Jewelers is a massive player in the gray market. From my experience, they have been extremely reputable. I know they have a massive inventory, and I've heard that Anthony owes them money. My guess is Anthony is trying to sell their inventory in order to pay them back, which makes a lot of sense. Anthony is basically willing to sell anything, cars, social media posts, anything to make money right now. Times are very, very desperate. Thanks for continuing to speak out. Lack of response, as you notice, leaves commenters to assume the worst. Marco is getting a lot of flack for being silent. If he is choosing to do so, it should be clarified as to why. No matter what Marco says, he's going to get roasted. It's a lose-lose situation for him. Grand Caliber wanted to make a statement regarding the matter and move on. Our team is tired of hearing and talking about Anthony, especially when he hasn't been involved with our company for some time now. Some time, only a few days since you sold him a watch, Jimmy, as the ex-head of finance of TPG. You will hear about Anthony for a long time. So that's the unfortunate part of Grand Caliber. They bought the social media, which Jimmy will go into a little bit more. And I would love to have Jimmy on a live stream. We can have Noel as an intermediate, right? So I don't dig too deep into him. And we can see what he actually really has to say. So these are very professional responses, very business-like responses. But in a live stream, you kind of break down to what it actually is. Yes, he was caught lying about not selling watches to Coach. He posted here less than 10 months ago admitting to working with Anthony. I will post that screenshot now. Of course, the simps here ate up every word of Jim's planning and bullshit. As I've already admitted in a different thread, I was incorrect in my statement. There was a watch deal with TPG roughly 250 to 60 days ago, as you pointed out. As for the video, like Roman, we wanted to pull it down after our client base heard the message. We want to move forward, not continuously talk about someone who isn't involved. You guys should have seen what he was doing while still with TPG, spending more than you took in, the books being a complete mess. No doubt. Not collecting or paying state taxes, state sales taxes. Why does it take so long to part ways when all of that was right in front of you? And you started a clothing business with him separately. Strange, man. I came on full time on January 2022, and when I had access to everything, we started to discuss the buyout by late February, early March. So it seemed like Jimmy did not like what he saw. Yes, I missed the one deal that a member of our team did with TPG over 250 days ago. So they're grilling him on this. For the most part, he's done a pretty good job explaining various scenarios. In my opinion, he does need to do a live stream with me and Noel to clarify some things, like what exactly did he know? When did he know it? Did he actually want to stay with? Was it like Anthony said, where he desperately wanted to stay with Anthony in Los Angeles, but the buyout agreement didn't allow him to do that, or did he actually just want to leave? And then what was Marco's involvement with it? Would love to have Marco speak out. He has not spoken out on this topic. The question really is, when did the embezzlement, fraud, financial failure, when did that happen? Was it part of the TPG? It seems like it was part of the TPG, and that's why they desperately wanted to kick him out. Had he not done the over-lavish spending and so on, maybe he would still be there. My main focus is the business, and I'm not concerned about their personal expenses as long as it doesn't involve company funds. I joined full-time in January 2022 when I had full access to the books and quickly made changes, including buyout discussions with Anthony late, selling the McLaren in April, and parting ways with some employees. I think that was Trine. Thanks for clarifying. So to summarize, McLaren was a lease company. The Audi was a lease company car, aka marketing. I meant Marco's Audi. You're right, only Anthony had a G-Wagon. I agree, personal expenses should not be your concern. Good job fixing those books. That must have been a nightmare. Can you add some clarity on what happened to Trine? Yeah, what happened to Trine? As part of a cultural change in evaluating company personnel needs and expenses, I chose to part way with some employees while others voluntarily decided to leave. I prefer not to discuss individual cases, but turnover is so very business-like, so we still don't know what happened to Trine, right? Love to have Jimmy on. This is going to haunt his company for a long time, regardless of if he pairs on or not on. It doesn't really matter to me. It would be good for viewership, of course. Jimmy is very honest. Like, a lot of this stuff. This one. Jimmy, you always talk about this buyout. What was there to buy? You say he kind of stole investors' money and blew that on himself. At that point in time, the brand, or TPG, was known as scams. In order to avoid rebuilding platforms from scratch, we decided to purchase the social media. So that's what they bought. They bought these social media platforms. One of our main, and that's why Anthony already knew in January, that was when he started his daily personal channel. He already had a very good sense that, that he had to leave, that something was up, and he had to create his own channel, and then he would sell his channel and get a big payday. We also retained a list of our existing clients, among other important considerations. Yeah, it will affect the entire gray market. There's no debating that. At least you admit that. Yeah, the gray market. I'll probably make another video about the gray market. I mean, this is pretty fascinating stuff, to be quite honest with you. I would love to have Jimmy seems to talk company talk, but that's not how a live stream would work. A live stream, you can kind of gotcha him a little bit. Not like a ton, but like a little. And maybe then he will admit to like what actually happened with Grand Caliber. I mean, Grand Caliber is so interesting because it is a offshoot, and no matter how much distance you put between the two, it will always be an offshoot, and everyone will connect it because they bought the social media, which I believe is a toxic asset. Honest to God, it is a terrible asset to have right now. And I bet you that they wish that they should have began from scratch. There was no reason, in my personal opinion, that they didn't begin from scratch. That is an obvious play, because then that would differentiate them. And, you're asking people, it's almost unbelievable. You're asking people on the channel that grew with TPG to not connect you with Grand Caliber, but you bought their YouTube channel, which had all these subscribers of Anthony and TPG. So, I mean, one day they're used to watching a video about Anthony, and the next day it's Jimmy explaining they're no longer connected, but it's the same subscriber. So what you actually did was you bought subscribers from TPG, or not even from TPG. You bought subscribers that were subscribed only for TPG. So it's a much worse scenario. Like, you really don't see this often because it never works. The other example I have of this was another channel called Engineered Truth, and he was a huge channel at the time. He got into a little bit of hot water, and then he sold the channel to somebody, and that person running the channel was not. Engineered Truth was Asian, so they weren't even Asian. And it was like, wait, who are these people? They've never been introduced, and we don't know who they are. They paid a lot of money for that channel, that YouTube channel, and now it's completely gone. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about Jimmy in the comments below. Bye, guys.